Right, so this is our third video. It's going to be a long series of videos here. I hold the space bar and hold left mouse button to go to perspective and have a look at this thing. What are we going to do next? We are going to create a pelvis joint right down the middle. That pelvis joint will be the parent of our leg joints. So this one will be mirrored the other way. So let's just create the pelvis joint first. So let's just find the so let me just go to side view. Okay, what we want to do is we want to bring up our create joint tool again, and with the pelvis we try as best as possible to have it pretty much straight. So what we can do is we can hold X while we draw the joint. So I'll put it here on the grid. So holding X will snap it to grid while I draw this, and then hold X still and create the second joint, and that will create a straight joint like this one here. Alright, now if you're wondering, like, what's the whole idea with zeroing out things, you'll see that if I select this guy, the child here is pointing, the Y is pointing that way, so it's not actually following the parent. So we need to select this end joint here, and going to our attribute editor under joint orient here, let's just zero out, and that way it will actually mirror its parent like so. Again, as good practice. Right, and then I can perhaps move the child to be up here and place the pelvis somewhere in the middle here, and kind of down below here perhaps. So the pelvis will be located somewhere there. Let's just move this guy a bit up here. Alright, and that's pretty much looking okay. So the pelvis will be located there. What I want to do next is let's just rename things properly, and I will select the root here, have it named as bind underscore pelvis. Notice that I don't put any L because it's in the center, so bind underscore pelvis is pretty much okay for our naming. And the end joint here, let's just call it BE instead, and that will become BE pelvis 01. Press enter. Right, now we're going to select our leg chain here, and using skeleton mirror joints we can mirror it to the other side. So let's open up the options box here and have a look at it. Right, let's study our settings here first. Now we know that we want it to be mirrored in the, imagine there was a plane running along here. We want it to flip that way. So if you look at this heads up display, you'll see that that plane is actually the YZ plane that we want to mirror. So YZ is what we want. Let's just reset things, and you see that by default this is what you get. So make sure it is YZ following this indication here. So that's the plane we want to mirror it in, and set this to behavior. And we can do a clever thing here. We want to search for underscore L underscore, which is that part of the name of the joints. That's the reason why I don't say just L, because there might be other things like ankle, which it will search instead. So we want it to be specific, underscore L underscore like that, and with that we want it to replace, we want to have the L replaced with underscore R underscore instead. So these are the settings, YZ, behavior, change that. Now if you want to know what's the difference between behavior and orient, you can give it a try. Let's just give it, we want it to be behavior, but that's just for fun. See what happens if I choose orientation. Click apply. Now if I were to select my joints and move it, you see that it's doing something like that. It's moving in the same direction whenever I rotate. So this might not be ideal, because nobody walks like that. One leg will actually move a different way, so you don't want orientation. So let me just undo that. So what we want instead is behavior. So I'll choose behavior and click apply. Now if you were to select your joints and kind of rotate it, that is more to what legs should do when we start to rotate it. Alright, so we can say this is okay and click close for now. Now the next thing we're going to do is we want to kind of make sure our pelvis here, the root of our pelvis, sits exactly in between of these two leg joints. For a number of reasons, you want it to be really in the middle. Even though you see it looks like in the middle, but you can't be really sure, because you might have like minor offsets, and that will actually give problems to your rigging later on. So in order to do that, this is how we do that. To place the pelvis right in the middle of these two joints, select these two leg chain joints, and then we're going to grab the pelvis root like so. Let's go to constraint. We're going to apply a point constraint to it. Okay, and for that, let's just go to the options box. Now the settings that we want to put here is, let's just reset things. We want to have maintain offset unchecked. Okay, and this should be all okay, and I will say just apply, and you see, if you didn't see it, just undo that. If you click apply, this pelvis root will actually jump to the center of these two leg chains like so. Now we can be sure that it is actually right in the middle. Sweet. I can click close now, and it should be okay. Now because that has been applied, we can actually go inside bind pelvis and go find the point constraint in our outliner, and since it has already done its job, we can just select it and press delete, and that will take it out. Alright, final stuff would be, we need to have the pelvis here parented to our skeleton. So I'm going to select the root of the pelvis, control and click the skeleton and press P. Let's just close this one, and you'll see that they all now belong in the same group, which is skeleton 1. Final move is to have the thigh chain. Select those two thigh chains and select the last stuff in as the parent, which is our pelvis here, and click hit P, and you see that now it's all binded properly. Alright, so that's pretty much it, and it's starting to come up pretty nicely now. And in the next video, we're going to continue and build the spine and the tail for our character rig. Alright, so see you in the next video.